Welcome into America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates. Securities offered through Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Advisory services offered through the Retirement Guys Formula, registered investment advisor. America's Retirement Headquarters, America's Medicare Associates, and the Retirement Guys Formula are separate and independent entities from Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. And welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula, America's Medicare Associates, and Retirement Tax Partners with Nolan Baker. 419-794-3030 is the phone number. It's 419-794-3030. Online, arhq.com. Don't forget, if you missed previous editions or segments of the show, you want to catch up, you have certain topics you want to look for, available on demand. Just search for America's Retirement Headquarters, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you consume your digital media. It's there for you to check out at your leisure. Cam Newton is the former star NFL quarterback who's now on ESPN's First Take. He says one of the biggest money mistakes pro athletes make is failing to understand how their income will be taxed.
See, the thing is, in one demographic, from a W-2 to a W-9, right, you're writing off what you spend. But people don't realize, as an athlete, you're a part of the 1%. So not only do you get state tax, Chicago, Illinois, you're getting federal tax. Every state that you play in, you get taxed with those states. So, bro, how do you spend to blow $30 million? Taxes.
Now, you don't just have to be a professional athlete to fall victim to the lack of knowledge about taxes. Many retirees also don't understand how their income is going to be taxed once they stop working. So what can that include, Nolan, and how do you come up with a workable plan that can help mitigate those taxes?
Well, here's a question. When was the last time you took a look at strategies to minimize the amount of taxes that you're paying before you actually ended up filing your tax returns? I recently met with Sarah this year, and Sarah was donating about $10,000 a year, every year, to her charity. What she was doing is, like most people, is she was just donating directly from her checking account, making contributions on a monthly basis to the charity that she had. She's retired. She's in her 70s, so she's taking money out of her retirement account, also being forced to take a required minimum distribution. She would then pay the taxes on it. The money goes into her checking account. She's writing out that money to the charity every month, making those donations. She literally had no idea that one simple tax strategy could save her over $3,000 a year. So back to my question, when was the last time you looked for ways to save money on taxes before filing them? You know, if your answer is really never, I just hand my stuff to the tax preparer, you're not alone, but you could be leaving thousands of dollars on the table every single year. And that's really why I created the company Retirement Tax Partners. I believe that taxes is not just a one conversation meeting, meaning that most people just meet with their accountant once a year. They get their taxes filed accurately and on time, and then they put their taxes away. And oftentimes they say, well, you know, if I get a refund, then taxes are good. But I believe that the tax conversation really needs to be a two-conversation meeting. One, not only filing your taxes accurately and on time, but number two, getting back together on an annual basis with the accountant or CPA and running a tax what-if analysis. So whether you end up working with us and our team at Retirement Tax Partners, or take this knowledge and schedule a meeting with your CPA or accountant, because I'm going to show you why doing this is critical every single year and why just filing your taxes is not nearly enough. You know, when you think about it, again, most people think about taxes as a one-time type of an occurrence, right? Whether you're gathering your W-2s, your 1099s, your tax and investment statements, and you give them to the accountant, or maybe you're even plugging them in, doing yourself through TurboTax or some other software. You know, the problem is filing your taxes is backward looking. It's just reporting really what happened last year. And by the time you figure it out and file it, your opportunities to reduce your tax bill, and for many cases, are really gone when December 31st passes every single year. And the IRS is not going to send you a letter that says, hey, you could have converted $5,000 over to a Roth IRA or donated to charity differently. That's up to you to figure it out, and it's up to who you work with to help figure it out as well. So what I recommend that you do is I recommend that you get what is called a tax what-if analysis. And, again, think about it as a different game plan, really, from the start of the year. We're going to take your real numbers. We're going to look at your tax return. We're going to look at your income, what your deductions were, how much you paid in dividends and interest, maybe required minimum distributions, Social Security. And then we're going to look at, what's going to be different this year. We're going to run different scenarios to kind of help you figure it out. We're going to look at things like, how much could you potentially convert over to, say, a tax-free Roth IRA? How much could you do this year? How can you do it over, say, the next 4 years under the big, beautiful bill, and where the, retirees have a little bit more room with where their deductions are at as well? Maybe, the changes to charitable giving. What if you bunch your deductions together in 1 year? What if you sold an investment now versus later? What do you look at when you look at things like your capital gains or capital losses and do end of the year tax planning? Should you move some of your taxable income to a tax deferred category or a potentially tax free category? It's those forward looking things that shows you how choices today can minimize the amount of taxes that you're going to pay this year and also every year in the future. And the key is, don't just do this once. I want you to do it every single year. Again, whether you're working with us or whether you're working with a CPA or accountant, I want you to have a 2-conversation meeting. 1, get your taxes done accurately and on time. But 2, every year, take a look at what the tax law changes are. This year is a perfect example, right? The big, beautiful bill is effective July 4th of this year. Do you know, and have you run that tax what-if analysis that says, how do those tax law changes apply to our situation? We just had a couple that came in. We ran a tax what-if analysis, and they had found out that they had the ability to do more Roth conversions this year, and it would still keep them in a lower tax bracket because of the changes of the big, beautiful bill. Now, if they waited until next year when they met with their CPA and maybe met with them in March or April to file their taxes, that Roth conversion opportunity was already too late. They had missed out on that opportunity. So when we look at these major tax laws like what we have today, it's important to know how that applies to your situation. The next thing is life changes, right? Maybe you retired. Maybe you're selling a business. Maybe you're selling a stock. You started Social Security. You're looking to transition over into Medicare. Maybe you're now trying to navigate what required minimum distributions. Each stage is a different tax picture, and different decisions could be made along the way. The markets change as well. I mean, you've got gains, you've got losses, interest rates change where there's different opportunities, or there's risk every single year. So by doing this annually, it's going to allow you to stay ahead of the changes instead of reacting after the fact. Let me give you a couple real world examples of what I saw from Retirement Tax Partners this year. I've seen retirees really save tens of thousands of dollars over their lifetime by converting when they're in the lower tax bracket before required minimum distributions met in. We met with one client and their income was so low, they actually weren't paying any taxes. So that sounds great, right? Their income after deductions was so low. The problem was, at some point in the future, they may not pay zero taxes, right? Tax rates could change for them in the future. In addition to that, I asked them the question. I said, well, are your children paying no taxes? And they're like, no, our kids are doing great. They're at kind of the best point of their life. And so the likelihood is if you leave that money over to them and they inherit that money from your retirement account, you realize they're not going to pay 0% in taxes. They had an opportunity where they could convert money over to a Roth IRA and still be able to stay at a 0% tax bracket, or could even do it and stay at a low tax bracket, systematically shifting that money over So if tax rates change for them on the future, they've already got that money over into the tax-free category. And or if they left that money to their children or loved ones in the future, that they would inherit it tax-free as well in the Roth account versus a fully taxable, tax-deferred traditional IRA. The example of the charitable gifting that we saw in the past, the lady we had talked about, she could have used a strategy called qualified charitable distributions, and she could have donated directly because of her age out of her retirement account to the charity versus having that show up on her taxes. And ultimately, that would have saved her over $3,000 a year of taxes that she was paying. We saw another example of somebody who had sold stock in their investments. And, number one, their stocks have been doing great and the market's been doing great. So, profits are a good thing. But looking at the end of the year planning, developing a strategy, maybe there was some losers that they could have sold to offset some of the gains that they had. And that capital gain planning should have been part of their overall plan. Unfortunately, again, in their old system, their financial advisor never really talked to their accountant, so those two people never really communicated. They simply just reported history when they took that information to their accountant. Business owners. I mean, we look at business owners and business owner planning, deductions, depreciations, restructuring your business, changing it, maybe from a pass-through LLC to a corporation can make a difference. I know I worked with my CPA this year with some of the businesses that I own. I worked with my CPA last year on the businesses, and we did some restructuring as well. And I can tell you that it saved a tremendous amount of money in taxes as well. So that, what if analysis is going to give you a side-by-side comparison so you can see in black and white, what those changes look like. And the good news is if you do it now, as we're, kind of transitioning towards the end of the year getting here, and it'll be here quicker than it gives you time to make some smart, intelligent decisions. And doing nothing can be expensive. If you just file your taxes every year without planning, and you think, I got a refund, so taxes are good, you could still be really overpaying the IRS year after year after year. And the most common is paying taxes on money that you're not using. It's what I call voluntary taxation, and that's taxes that you pay on things like dividends and interest income. This is why asset location makes sense. Where you hold your investment assets at make a big difference. You could trigger Medicare excess premiums if you did things like pay off your mortgage or made more income. You can end up paying taxes on your Social Security benefit. And worst of all, you can miss that opportunity before the end of the year, before it expires. Things like doing that Roth conversion before the window expires every year at the end of the year with your tax rates and, potential tax rates going higher in the future. So the cost of not planning over time can be a huge missed opportunity. Think about what that opportunity can mean to you over a traditional 10, 20, 30-year retirement time. It can mean hundreds, thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of your lifetime. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to call your current accountant or CPA, and I want you to have that second conversation. And I want you to schedule the time to say, hey, I want to take a look at what can we do this year to minimize the amount of taxes I'm going to pay this year, and or any ideas or suggestions on what can be done in the future. The second option is you can get a hold of us. We can talk and connect you with our team at Retirement Tax Partners. We can do a what-if tax analysis for you. We could show you in black and white. So, even if you have an accountant, a CPA, we're not telling you to make any changes now. And maybe you just need to get a second opinion. In fact, if you go to retirementtaxpartners.com, just click on that what-if analysis. We can get you scheduled, and we can provide you that complimentary tax what-if analysis. And again, show you in black and white what are the strategies that you could be taking advantage of. It's well worth your time to figure out a little bit of ways to minimize the amount of taxes that you pay. And just remember, just because you get a refund doesn't mean that you're still not overpaying in taxes.
When it comes to protecting your nest egg, so many people are focused on the market and avoiding market risk, things like that. But here's the truth. taxes that you were paying unnecessarily, that's money going out the door that, unlike the market, isn't going to come back. So you want to make sure that the tax component is handled as well. The team at Retirement Tax Partners, as part of America's Retirement Headquarters, they're here for you. Give a call, 419-794-3030 to schedule your tax what-if analysis, 419-794-3030, or online at arhq.com. Now, Nolan, a recent survey by AARP found that 88% of Americans over 50 say Social Security is important for a financially secure retirement. One of those responders actually was Marilyn Jones, a retired 87-year-old grandmother who lives in Las Vegas.
Social Security became something that I relied on. I have a small savings account and I have a very small stock portfolio. I think that's too glamorous to call it a portfolio. Social Security has helped me a lot. Almost $1,800 of my Social Security goes for utilities. People my age look forward to the years when you can retire and you've paid into this fund that's supposed to take care of you in later years.
Now, I don't want to focus on the $1,800 she's talking about in utilities, but the truth is Social Security is an extremely important income stream when it comes to retirement. But can it be paired with another type of income stream that will complement a client's needs and lifestyle?
Well, how do you replace $60,000 salary with predictable income that's going to last you the rest of your lifetime? And, really most people, I think, don't have a clue. And that's where it gets to be very dangerous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through 6 proven tools that can help you create reliable monthly paychecks from day one of retirement time, including a strategy that helps guarantee that you don't outlive your income. And what I think the problem is most people will transition into retirement time and they won't change what their overall investment approach is, meaning that, when you're in your 30s, 40s, and even 50s, the focus at this point has been grow your retirement dollars, right? You want to get that number to be as big as possible. But I believe that when you transition into retirement time, growth is still important, but you need to change the investment approach and switch from growth to focusing more on income. So if you're not going to get up and go to work every day and get a paycheck, you need to make sure that your money gets up and gets you a paycheck every single day. And there are a couple of specific investments that you want to take a look at your portfolio and determine, how much income is each account designed to produce, and what the purpose of each account is. If you don't have a written retirement income plan, I'm not talking a financial plan. A lot of people have financial plans. I'm talking a written retirement income plan. Do you confidently know how much predictable income will be generated from your investment portfolio this year? If not, you could be one of the people that are facing these dangers. When we're looking at income, there's a couple of areas that we're looking at. First of all, you're looking at Social Security benefits. You're going to make a decision on when to claim Social Security. You can take Social Security as early as age 62. You can delay benefits until age 70. I was recently with a group. We were at a friend's birthday party, and I had talked to a gentleman who's getting ready to retire in the next year. And he explained to me that he's going to take Social Security at 62. And like the common approach is he didn't know how long he's going to live, and he better get what he can. The problem with that is Social Security ends up being the cornerstone or a foundation for most average retirees' income in retirement. And it's guaranteed by the federal government. It's inflation adjusted. It has survivor benefits. And when you claim can make a huge difference. Taking benefits at age 62 is going to lock into a lower check for life. It can also negatively impact what your survivor benefits. Waiting till age 70 can seem like, a big thing that maybe can't be surmountable, but it can be accomplished. Not only do you get a 76% increase when you wait from age 62 to age 70, you also are getting that cost of living increase. So oftentimes, the difference in benefits can be over 100% between the ages of 62 and 70. So what I want you to do is I want you to have a strategy in place. There's software that can help you run a Social Security optimization plan. And this is an income plan that's going to be, a cornerstone of your retirement. So I want you to get it right. Number 2 is if you're blessed enough to have a pension. So Maybe you work for police and fire, maybe you're a retiring teacher, you're lucky enough to have a pension. It's like a personal annuity from a company. The choices that you're going to have there are oftentimes like taking a lump sum. You may look at that lump sum of money and think, wow, that's a big number. That's, one of the biggest numbers that I've seen. And you may, on the surface, you may say, hey, I think I'd like to just take that lump sum and transfer it over into a retirement account and then use that to fund my own retirement. Now, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. The other options that you have are typically what is called a single life annuity payment. And the single life annuity payment is going to give you income for as long as you live. So if you're single, typically can be a good choice. If you take that monthly payment times 12, that then divided by the lump sum amount would tell you how much you need to produce from the lump sum to generate the same monthly income. And oftentimes, it's very difficult to take that lump sum of money without taking excess risk and generating the same level of income. So if income is important to you in retirement time, it oftentimes is for a lot of people, the lump sum pension may not be the best choice, as well as the fact that the single life annuity may not be the best choice, especially if you're married. So when you're married, then you're looking at the survivorship options, and those typically can range from anywhere from getting 50% to 100% survivorship options. But if you're, again, blessed in getting the pension, don't make a decision based upon what you talk to somebody at the water cooler about. You're going to make that decision based upon your own situation. Maybe you have a lot of other financial assets that are built up, so then the lump sum could make more sense. Maybe you want to protect income for a set period of time and make sure that you have a certain period, certain cover. There's choices, in what worked, for your friends on the golf league may not be the right choice for you. Look at your own individual situation. Number 3, looking at annuities. And annuities are often misunderstood, but they can be a powerful income tool in retirement time. With an immediate annuity, you can take a lump sum of money and you can turn it into a guaranteed income payment. And that guarantee is based upon, again, the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. You want to know the financial background, the health of the insurance company. But annuities have been providing income for hundreds of years for families, and it's been something that's been around for quite some time. You could get a deferred income annuity, meaning that if you don't need income now, maybe you're going to defer it to later on. That can be great for protecting you from longevity risk. You can utilize what is called a fixed index annuities, which allows you to still have the ability to participate in some growth of the stock market, yet still have predictable income in the plan. There's pros and cons of annuities. They're designed, again, for more income. They typically have things like surrender charges, so you need to understand how they work. But it does give you a little bit more control and allows you to, structure a plan, even though they tend to be a little bit more complex. As long as you work with somebody and you understand, think of it as another way to have a personal income plan in retirement. Number 4, you can look at bonds and bond ladders. Bonds are a kind of a classic way to generate steady interest. You got treasuries, municipals, corporate bonds. They all pay predictable income. This can be a way to kind of help smooth out some of the risk that you have from the stock market part of the portfolio. If you want to try to eliminate interest rate risk, owning individual bonds could help that. You could stagger those bonds out so they have different maturities every year or two, keeping that steady cash flow. There are some different tax benefits that you can get depending upon if you own like municipals and a taxable account. But again, good ways to generate income. Number 5 is looking at dividend-paying stocks. When you look at dividend-paying stocks, it can be a great way to supplement your income. Companies that you're familiar with that you use every single day, companies that are consumer staples, typically have paid and they've raised dividends for decades. And when you get dividends, they tend to be more predictable than the daily ups and downs of what the stock market is. Dividends aren't necessarily guaranteed, but they are more predictable. and they are another great way for retirees to generate income. And again, it can be a bonus layer of income. Not typically your foundation. I would usually use this for your long-term growth bucket of money, but I do think that having dividend-paying stock can be a great part of an overall portfolio. Number 6 is I also like CDs. I also like what is called MYGAs, which stand for multi-year guaranteed annuities. If we look at CDs, the great thing about them is they're FDIC insured. They're predictable. They could be good for short-term income sources. Insurance Companies of America offer the MYGAs, the multi-year guarantees. They allow you to lock in an interest rate typically for a little bit of a longer period of time. They could typically pay maybe higher interest rates than what you get on CDs or some of the other tax-deferred investments that are out there. I think they're great really for retirees that are looking for safe, predictable income in the near term. I had a conversation with a newer client last week, and she was worried about outliving her income. She needed to replace about $1,500 a month. And I was able to show her that repositioning some of her assets was able to generate that income because of where the high fixed rates are today. So now that you know those 6 tools, knowing which one you use and in which bucket is really the key. In my video on the independent income system, I show you exactly how to calculate how much reliable income you're going to need. I talk to you about the different threats and the opportunities that are out there. I share more about then the solutions, which tools to use first, what specific percentages you want to put into different retirement scenarios. And I also go over the 5 biggest threats and opportunities that are facing people by utilizing the independent income system. So just another great resource that you can enjoy. Again, you can go over to America's Retirement Headquarters, check out our How to Retire series, and get more education. Again, the one that follow up to this is called the Independent Income System.
The team at America's Retirement Headquarters, again, 419-794-3030 or online, arhq.com. And as always, want to thank you for joining us here on America's Retirement Headquarters. It is the home of the Retirement Guys Formula, Retirement Tax Partners, and America's Medicare Associates. Have a great week, Thank you so much for joining us. Nolan, appreciate the time as always. As we wrap up, going to leave you with the final word.
Yeah, just remember when you think retirement, think America's Retirement Headquarters. We're here for your entire retirement.
America's Retirement Headquarters is located at 1700 Woodlands Drive in Maumee, Ohio. You can reach them by calling 419-794-3030 or online at americasretirementheadquarters.com. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Nolan Baker is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Please consult with your attorney, accountant, and or tax advisor for advice concerning your particular circumstance. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Nolan Baker, Ohio Insurance License Number 27787.